All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video we're doing on World of Tanks console, and today we're talking about the Centurion Action 10. Not the oldest tank in the game, but certainly one that's been around for a while. You heard me talk about this tank quite a bit in my FV4202 video, and that's obviously because these are the two British Tier 10 top of the tree medium tanks that you can grind out playing the Centurion 7-1. And any time that you have two tanks of the same nation, of the same class, it's really easy to draw comparisons. And this tank, I mean, man, what just a few changes have done for this machine because I mean, at one point I actually sold this vehicle. I thought it was not very good, and just a handful of buffs later, well, I think this is probably for my money the best medium tank in the game, and we're definitely going to get into the reasons why because that's a pretty bold claim because there's some fantastic machines broadly speaking in the game, and also just a couple we've already talked about. The T62A is fantastic. The M48 Patton is really, really good. The Leopard 1, a really specialized machine that's deadly on the right maps. And I think this tank just kind of has it all, which is really what medium tanks are all about. Flexibility, being able to do well in different situations. So what does this tank kind of have over the FE4202? And I kind of touched on it rather briefly in that video because what this tank has, we'll start with the gun. So they effectively have the same kind of a gun. It is the typical Western style 105 millimeter Royal Ordnance gun with 268 millimeters of standard penetration. These days it has 420 alpha. Historically, it had 390. Good rate of fire, good accuracy, all those attributes that we like on these kinds of tier 10 tanks, and great shell velocity on the APCR. What this tank has, in my opinion, which is a distinct advantage over the FE4202, is that it has access to heat rounds as its premium ammunition, as opposed to the Hesh rounds that the FE4202 kind of gets stuck with. And I say that because the Hesh rounds, while they're good, and they are certainly better in some circumstances, although I would argue they're kind of niche, having access to 330 millimeters of penetration when you absolutely have to make sure you penetrate a shot to kill a tank or reset a cap or just brawl on a corner like I'm doing here against heavy tanks, having that option to increase your penetration, in my opinion, is far, far, far more useful than just having some high explosive with a good amount of penetration on it, right? And in this first game, you're going to see me kind of employ some medium tactics that are a bit difficult and situational, but certainly workable because you're going to see me just work this corner. I'm fighting tank destroyers and heavy tanks here, obviously with a lot of support. And when you do have support and you're on the inside like I am, what that lets you do is you could play off the enemy's reload. And you'll notice every time the E100 fires or his friends fire, that's when I peek out, take my shot, roll back into cover. And when you play that way at the medium, it means you can kind of, and I won't necessarily say brawl because this is really just like a classic corner fight, but you can do it with these tanks. You just have to be very careful and really know what you're doing when it comes to taking the time to see when enemies shoot and when you could come out. So, a nice, useful little trick to have in your toolbox when it comes to your general medium tank gameplay. This isn't unique to the Centurion. You could do this with any tank, honestly, and just kind of improve your gameplay. So, I hope that's kind of beneficial to you guys. But when this tank first came out, it actually had a lot of the same problems I have with the FV422. Namely, it had so much bloom on its gun, and we've talked about it a bit, but on medium tanks, you want to be mobile, you want to be quick, you want to pop out and back into cover like I'm doing here. And what that means is more than the other tank classes in the game, you're really going to be snapping a lot of shots. So good gun handling on a medium tank is, in my mind, it's almost a complete necessity because you don't have the armor to sit in front of tanks while you aim, with a few exceptions on mediums or maybe if you're in a hold down environment. But you really don't want to get shot in your mediums. You really want to work around flanks, come over hills, work on reloads, kind of tactics like that prevent you from taking too much damage. And when you have poor gun handling like this tank had, it really made that a difficult play style to pull off consistently. And I just felt there were a lot more tanks that did it better in the game, namely something like the M48 Patton, for instance, which was definitely my favorite medium tank at the time. So, along with that, this tank, it was kind of always a jack of all trades machine. It didn't do anything particularly well. It has a top speed of Ooh, excuse me, 53 kilometers an hour. And what that means is that you're not fast enough to go and contest early positions, kind of like we talked about in the FE4202 video. And it's not slow, it's not like a M48 patent, but it's also not quick. So, just kind of box standard average, this is a medium tank, and the armor is nothing to write home about either. The upper front plate is this is effectively a Centurion 7-1's whole armor at tier 10. And what that means is that your upper plate is not very good. It's probably just a little less than 200 millimeters of effective armor. And the truth is, every vehicle you fight, tier 8 and up, has at least 200 millimeters of penetration, unless you're fighting, some poor stock tank, right? But this thing doesn't have good hull armor. Your ammo rack is located in the front, that gets knocked out all the time. And then we come to the turret, and it's actually, in terms of armor, a downgrade from what you had at tier 9 with the Centurion 7-1. The most notable reason is because you don't have a gun mantlet. There's no spaced armor on the front of this thing to kind of make some weird, funky gun mantlet bounces happen, and there's no funky angles to hit at that. It's a very flat front, and you do have some really well angled parts to this turret. But the truth is, if you're sitting level with enemies with no gun depression, you're probably looking at like 230, 240 millimeters of effective armor on the flat parts, which most tanks that you'll fight can actually go through with their standard rounds, much less premium rounds. And even with your gun depression, it does make it effectively a bit thicker, but people will load premium, and this thing's turret doesn't really stand up well to at least sitting still in front of enemy tanks that are firing premium. So you want to make sure you keep this thing moving. It does have good turret armor, but it's certainly not great. And in my opinion, it is a bit of a downgrade from the Centurion 7-1. Not to mention, you have a fairly large cupola. It's much larger than the Centurion 7-1s as well. But over the years, I played this thing. I just didn't think it was that great. I always thought to myself, why am I not playing a Leopard if I want an accurate gun that could shoot at range? Why am I not playing a Patton if I want good gun depression and turret armor? While and also on the move accuracy, which this thing absolutely lacked, in my opinion. And I actually ended up selling this tank just because I wasn't doing great in it, and I didn't have a whole lot of fun. And I just thought to myself, I'll just play a Centurion 7-1 if I want to get my British medium kicks. Well, all that changed at some point. So this tank underwent a pretty significant buff, and in all the ways that I really felt it needed to kind of contend and be a very valid, strong tank. And it really goes to show it doesn't take much with these vehicles to actually make them competitive, because it wasn't crazy significant buffs. It didn't, get 25% more DPM and infinite penetration and alpha. So, what did they actually change on the machine? What they changed about it, first and foremost, since we spent some time talking about it, was the gun handling. And they put it almost on par. I would say it's slightly worse, but it's almost as good as a patent when it comes to firing on the move. And you could see how well the reticle does as I was peeking the corners in that first game, and then right here, working this corner, moving in, moving out, just no problem whatsoever, hitting shots that I need to hit. And that's such a rewarding experience. They could have honestly just stopped right there, and this would have been instantly a very strong tank. But they also made a few more changes. So the other thing they buffed about this tank, which really helps it, is they buffed its camo. So it wasn't a massive buff. You are not the stealthiest tier 10 medium tank, but having good camouflage just means you have another tool in your toolbox to use in games to outplay other tanks on the enemy team, right? And the more tools you have, the more ways you could approach battles and situations. It gives you a better chance of performing well and even winning games. And I mean, that's really, really great. So this thing with my setup, and I think it's about as good as you're going to get without like a camo net. I'm sitting at 301 meters of still concealment, and that's solid. I mean, anything between like 290 to 300 is good stealth, and this is right at 301. So if you want to outspot enemies and you're sitting in a bush, you're going to be able to do it without getting spotted. And, heavy tanks don't really have a chance. Other mediums, if they're on the move and you're sitting still, you'll outspot them because you also have great view range in this tank. My current view range is sitting at 501 meters with my optics and crew setup. So, I mean, the Vision game, this tank can absolutely play it. So those big maps, Prokhorovka, Malinovka, no problem. You could absolutely do well on those maps, as well as find closer quarters like you saw me do in the first game and kind of here. The last kind of change that it got that made it really stand out is they did buff the DPM, and it wasn't an insane amount, but it was enough to make it towards the upper end of medium tanks. So what you had in effect now was 10 degrees of gun depression. You had good DPM, good alpha damage, penetration, gun handling accuracy, premium penetration. You had great view range. You had usable armor. I mean, it just feels like what this tank had after these buffs. It had everything. There wasn't really a massive downside, with the exception of, I guess, maybe I don't know, maybe its size. It is a fairly large tank, and I guess no tank can really be perfect, but there's nothing really to complain about with this tank nowadays. And this is one of the machines that I like to take out if I'm having a rough session on World of Tanks, and I just need to know that if I roll out with this vehicle, I'm going to be able to do well if I play smartly, and my team doesn't, just frankly go potato. Unfortunately, in those kinds of games, there's not much you can do, but you're not going to do poorly because oh, I got a bad map for this tank, or the gun isn't very good, or whatever the case is. This thing really is just absolutely phenomenal in all the ways you want it to be. Its power to weight's good, so you could shift up and down inclines. You could use your turret and gun depression. You can bait shots and side scrape, albeit very carefully. This is medium tank armor. Don't think you're in an IS-4 or a mouse, for instance. But when it comes to winning games in Battle Impact, I think my win rate with this thing is somewhere around 62%, which is higher than my average. I don't really care for playing for stats and Unicum status, but full transparency, you can look up. You guys see my gamer tag if you want to look it up. I'm about a 60% win rate player, which is really strong. Not the best in the game by any means. There's plenty of guys who are just absolutely insane at the game, but I've just been playing a long time, so I kind of know how to do it. But it was just a matter of getting games with this tank to show you guys was not hard at all. And this game right here, I didn't notice until the end. I did a good amount of damage, and I was thinking about, I don't even know if I'm going to share this, but I actually got 10 kills this match, and that is a very rare feat for me. And that's a Pools medal right there in a mastery game. I just thought, oh my god, that it just felt kind of effortless, right? When you have a tank that does everything you want it to do, it's a lot of fun to play. And we didn't even eliminate the enemy team in that game. And my team got 12 kills combined, and 10 of those were from me. So there you go. That's kind of a cool one to hang your hat on. And it's not even the last one I'm going to show you guys. So give me a second here. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. That's good stuff. So this last game here, we're playing on Highway. And right out the gate, this game did not start particularly well. Um, I had very low hopes that this game would make the video, but what this game is going to show you about the Centurion is just the different ways you can approach tanks, and also kind of more broadly speaking, World of Tanks. Not to give up, because some games are going to start out pretty terribly, and I've been there. The game can be frustrating, regardless of your win rate, how good you are. We're all going to have just absolute crap games for a variety of reasons. You get ammo racked, your team doesn't go down the right flank, etc. So I'm playing Highway, and this is kind of the position I like to go to in my fast, stealthier medium tanks. And typically, where this enemy medium's going is kind of a death wish, because you have all this support that's always lining up behind you, right? Um, yeah, about that. I don't have a lot of people shooting right now, and I'm getting spotted, so I'm starting to think to myself, like, what's going on? And I look on my map, and I realize, like, oh crap, right? I don't have guys in position to take advantage of my spots, and I'm gonna get clipped by this machine here. Thankfully, he does bounce around or two, but I'm starting to realize quickly that this game might not be going the way I want it to. So I need to kill this guy and get him away from proxy spotting me, because what I really need to do here is go dark. I need to stop shooting my gun. So I repair everything. I see that I'm not here. I go dark, and I'm gonna hold my fire, because if I were to shoot right now, Best case scenario, the Chrysler shoots me and I kill him. Worst case scenario, I get clipped by the machine. So you could see the camo really coming into factor here. I do have some bushes, but these guys are fairly close, and if they were running optics before this thing got buffed, I would probably be perma-spotted here, and my game would end with a good amount of assist, but really nothing done. So I'm really just kind of staring at this guy. You're gonna see me do here is wait till his turret was around the corner, and then I fired my gun, which means he can't spot me because the way that tanks spot in this game is they spot with their, I believe it's the front of their guns. So if their turret is around a corner and like there it was just his ass sticking out, he wasn't gonna be able to spot me. And so I'm able to take him out there. He was behind a bush. I was behind a bush. I kind of like my odds of not getting spotted in that position. And I see that the machine is dead, the guy who's clipped me earlier. So now I can move forward. And this is where the stealth and the V range come into play once again. I'm moving up here, and these tank destroyers are right up that hill. But I waited to fire my shot until that guy was backing up in cover, and I wasn't being spotted the whole time, right? So I was able to make this move without getting spotted, and now I'm on the low ground. And after playing kind of the vision game to start the game, because I had good stealth and good view range, here I'm able to play the hold down game because I have good turret armor and I'm mobile with 10 degrees of gun depression. And this is very characteristic kind of Centurion gameplay, British medium tank gameplay. You're going to work ridges. You're going to use your good gun handling to take those quick shots so you're not sitting out in the open and just kind of work ridge lines and take what opportunities you can get because I'm pretty far forward here. My team, they kind of figured it out. It was a it was a rough start, but they've pushed this flank, which is what you want to do on a highway. And now we're able to keep all these tanks that like to sit on that top ridge line in cover because if they pop out, they have to expose so much of their tank, and there's so much of us here that it's really not a viable option for them anymore. And I'm just kind of working this ridge line. What I like to do in this position, you're going to see here in a little bit, is once the enemies are kind of, I guess, suppressed, you could say, and they've all kind of moved back behind this hill and they're not really peeking too much anymore, I like to move up to the hill and then turn my turret left from where I'm facing right now. And the reason I do that is because you're going to see that one Centauro, that medium tank in the north, he kind of holds up my team from moving up and dealing with these guys behind the ridge. And if you take this position when the enemies aren't peeking so much anymore, you can support them. So you're going to see me put a shot into him here, and I damage his ammo rack, which is great. But he's going to start turning his turret to me, and I have very little health left. So I move back into cover again, snap a shot, great on the move accuracy, and thankfully he hits my tracks that were angled pretty well, so I don't really get hit too much. And now he's kind of screwed. He's got tanks in front. If he looks at me, he'll shoot the side of his turret. He's got me on the side, so if he keeps fighting them, he's gonna get shot on the side. And now he's pretty much a one shot, and down he goes. So now we're in a 6v8 here. They have twice the amount of health that we do, so we are starting to cap. And basically, my job here as the most forward tank is to provide vision and harass as many tanks as I can to prevent them from getting back to my team. Because we're probably not going to win this game by killing every single enemy just because of that large health disparity, and they have more guns than us. So I really need to work on this ridge. And I saw that shot fly over my turret there, and you see some heavy tanks. They're going to start moving their way back to the base. So where I'm at right now, in very short order, is going to become unplayable because I'm going to get shot in the back. So what do? Use that mobility, and I relocate. So I'm still playing hold down on a ridge line against this AMX, but I'm doing it down here, which means once those guys keep pushing, it's going to take them quite a bit longer to actually get a line of fire on me. And that means I could deal with the AMX and then get on the other side of this hill. So I'm relocating a whole bunch here. And, you know, we're taking care of these threats just in the nick of time for me to do so. And once I kill this tank destroyer on my left, you know, we're almost capped here. We're almost capped, and someone's gonna end up resetting it. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, this is gonna be a close finish, man, because they're rolling forward, and we have 8% total team health left. They have 22%. They got all these heavy tanks coming in, and I kill that ruthless. And I'm gonna go look over here. I'm gonna snap a shot to this IS 2-2. And thankfully, in the nick of time, we won the game. And that was a pretty crazy game. We may have won it. I was in an excellent position, but the truth is my team was probably going to die in the cap circle. But 6,574 raw damage, and I had over 4,000 spotting. So that was over 10,000 combined, and another mastery game. And that game really kind of highlighted all the strengths of this vehicle, from repositioning and view range and stealth to being hold down and gun handling. And this has just got to be, in my opinion, the best medium tank in the game. And probably for most people, I would think easily top five. I mean, what a tank. If you guys haven't picked it up, I highly recommend it. And I'm really excited to make this video. I'm glad I got these sweet games to show you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you guys have any feedback and just want to talk about this tank, go ahead and throw a comment in there. And I hope you guys are doing well. And until we talk next time, take care of yourselves.